You know, sometimes it's exhausting to live with someone who has narcissistic tendencies, or to be born to someone with narcissistic tendencies, or to give birth to someone with narcissistic tendencies. And you can exhaust yourself trying to please them, and you probably will. And today's episode is 5 reasons why you're smart not to continue to try to please a hijackal. Hijackal is my word for these relentlessly difficult people who are always looking for power, status, and control, and always wanting to be large and in charge. And so you've had many opportunities, I'm sure, to watch videos, mine and other people's, to give you the sense of what that's like to be with a person who behaves that way. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting because just when you think you've got something right, you figured out how to say it that'll be acceptable, or you figured out what you want to say and you think they'll really care, you practice it and then you say it and it doesn't work. And the point is that they don't care what you want. They really don't care. So if you are wise, you will think about these 5 reasons why to stop trying to please a hijackal or a person with narcissistic tendencies. It'll save you energy. It'll help you feel better about yourself because you're not being worn down by having that conversation. But also, maybe you could trust me just a little bit to know that it really is quite smart to give up wanting to please them, because they don't want to be pleased. They want what they want. Yes, of course, they love to be pleased, but what they want more is to make you wrong. So let's look at these 5. Of course, there are many more, but I offer you these in little bites so that you don't get overwhelmed. Just think about a few at a time. See how that works for you, because life with a hijackal or a narcissist is very complex, and you think too much about it in too many ways, especially as you are early in the days of understanding that you really are with one. It takes so much energy and time to realize, wow, I've been doing this for so long and I haven't gotten anywhere. And that's hard on you because, maybe you've made a mistake. Maybe you realize now that this is impossible. So let's look at the first wise reason for not trying to please them. And that is that, and you know this one, and you may be in denial a little bit when you look at it deeply. But the number one reason, and for this episode, is that they change the narrative to suit whatever it is that makes them right or winning. So when you go to talk to Hijackal and you say, I feel this way, or when this happened, or when this was said, or when we did this or that, they're not with you. They're not owning that narrative. They're changing it to make themselves look good. Right? That's what they do. So you go and try to please a hijackal, and you end up lying yourself, because you know what happened, and they're telling you that it didn't happen, and then you want more information, or you try to include them, get them to talk about what really happened, and then you wear yourself down, and they just continue to change the story, and then they stick to that story, and then you have nothing. You know what I'm talking about, right? You say to a hijackal, when we made the plan to buy the summer house, when we said that we would have this kind of savings plan and we would purchase it by this date. It's even something as factual as that. Or we were going to buy our tickets for a cruise, or whatever it was, start a new savings plan. Now, they want to be large and in charge. So they say, no, we didn't agree to that. I never would have agreed to that. That's ridiculous. That's just a figment of your imagination. Here's what really happened. And then they fill in the blanks with something that was never discussed. You know what happened. You know what the conversation was. Hopefully you wrote it down. Or if you're in a state or country where you have a one-party consent, you recorded it. That's what you have to do. And then you can play it back. You can say, no, here, on this day we agreed. And they will say, no, I never even had that conversation. That's ridiculous. So what is the value of using your precious energy to talk to them about something that they're going to deny happened, and they're going to tell you that you are foolish thinking that it did happen, and you're going to waste your energy because it's going to get you nowhere. That's why I wanted to share these today, because you really have to think these through so you know whether or not you're using your energy and your time wisely in any way. And when you try to please a hijackal, you aren't using your time or your energy wisely. Hijackals are there for the sole purpose some days of just making you wrong and making themselves right. It's just the way it is. That's how, no matter what you're discussing, that's the way it feels it is. And so when they get into this place of making up stories and denying what actually happened, you begin to see that it is a waste of time. And when you see that it's a waste of time, decide not to keep wasting your time that way. That's when you need some help. That's when you need to do something differently, or come on over and join in today. Join the Emerging Empowered community. 3 times a month we get together for a month, and we get together for an hour, and you can ask me any questions you want at joinintoday.com. So knowing that you need support to recognize that the hijackal is not going to turn into the nice person you hope they would, even if you stand on your head and spit wooden nickels for a decade. They're not going to. It's not going to happen. They are dedicated to being large and in charge and making you wrong. So the number one thing is you're going to change the story. They will not stick to what happened. They will not agree that the truth was the truth. They will not agree that they agreed to anything. And with that going on, it's crazy making to think that you can please them because you can't. Okay, number two thing that you have that makes it all such a waste of time is that when you listen to my episode 115, the 3 must-haves of a healthy adult relationship, those three things, one of them is reciprocity, meaning that we're a team. I'll do things for you, you'll do things for me. I'll get leads for you, you'll get leads for me. You'll find help, you'll get referrals. We'll work as a team. We will back each other up and have each other's back, and it'll work well. We'll be each other's go-to person. We can count on each other. Wouldn't that be nice? But that's not how it is when you're with a hijackal. It's just not how it is. There's one person in a relationship with a hijackal. That's the hijackal. They don't take you into account. Have you noticed that? So reciprocity is not going to happen. They're not going to do things for you, except occasionally when they really, really want something, or they're really, really afraid that you're going to leave them. But the rest of the time, no, they're not. And the more you do for them, the more they think you should do for them. Now, that's not a winning equation, is it? I mean, if you're supposed to do more and more for them, hoping that they will get the idea that this is a two-way street, and so you teach them that you will do more and more for them, they just won again. So very important to realize that if you try to please them by doing things for them over and over and being reciprocal about it, or even more than reciprocal, going and doing things without being asked, or without even having them not only have to ask, but to want to talk to you about something that needs done, even somewhere near the subject, and you get to do it ahead of time. They just come to expect that. They don't see that as a gift. They don't see that as a wonderful opportunity, a gift that you're giving them. They begin to expect that yeah, that's the way it should be. You should be doing everything for me so that I can go and do my life without you. And so reciprocity is off the table because it's not going to happen. I've had a client. I remember a client telling me about the conversation. It was a woman, and she told me about a conversation she had with her hijackal husband after we'd had this conversation about whether it was wise to ask him about things. And she came back and she said, you were right. What he said was, you should do more of that. You should be ahead of the curve. You should be ahead of me. You should be giving me what I want before I even ask. If you were worth your salt, you would do that. Have you had that kind of conversation with a hijackal? That's how they think. That's what they expect. That's what they want. Nasty. Nasty. Little thought here. If you had a hijackal parent, you were always trying to please them too. So there will be some leftovers from having a hijackal parent you always wanted to please to having a hijackal partner that you hope to please. You can't please either one of them because they're dedicated to not being pleased because that gives them power over you. So I hope you see that reading more and more clearly, that that's a waste of energy, a waste of time. And the way that you're playing it in your head is not the way it's going to work out. It really isn't. Because they are just wanting to be first. They want to be the one who is taken care of. They want to be the one, again, large and in charge. They want to be the one who retains information, withholds information, withholds good feelings. That's what they do. So number 2, but it's wise to not continue trying to please them, because there won't be any reciprocity. You will just get more and more into the role of, well, you should take care of me. You should think of me first. You should do things for me first. And that will never make a happy relationship. So number 3, the third thing is another part of the 3 must-haves, which is mutuality. You will never get mutuality from a hijackal. I've said that before. I know you've heard me say that before. But let's think about why. Mutuality means there are 2 of us here. We're going to share something between the 2 of us. And if the hijackal doesn't actually acknowledge that you breathe, that you have needs, that you have ideas, that you have desires, that you have feelings or thoughts, they are not going to be in any way interested in mutuality, because mutuality means I really know you. I know what your dreams are. I know what your goals are. I know what you'd like to achieve in life. And so I'm here to help you. That's, I'm on your side. I'll walk beside you as you do the things you want to achieve in life. And I'll walk behind you when you need to lead or when I need to be a follower. And that's comfort, that's pleasure, that's safety, that's stability, security, all found in mutuality. But you don't have any of that when you're with a hijackal. You don't have any safety. You don't have security. You don't have stability. They're keeping you on your toes all the time. So when we think about these 5 things, 5 reasons to stop trying to please a hijackal, we're on a mission to save ourselves from any more exhaustion, any more foolishness, any more being caught in ways that we have unrealistic expectations that a hijackal cares at all. So in mutuality, if I want the hijackal to want for me what I want for myself, which is basically what mutuality is in a partnership, you gotta give your head a shake. They don't want that. They truly don't want that, because they have to be ahead of you. They have to be in front of you. They have to be bigger than you, have more than you do, be smarter than you are. Anything. You know that. So it's not going to happen. The mutuality, they're going to help you get ahead. No, they're not. So if you are excited about thinking about ways to talk to them, to engage them in helping you get ahead, that is waste of energy and time, because they're not going to do it. The hijackal is not there to help you. The hijackal is not there to have you grow, to have you pursue, to have you push through and be encouraged to do these things so that you end up with a different life, a better life. They're not going to do that because they're so self-involved. They won't. So it's not wise to think that you can encourage them and please them, and then they will bestow upon you their gracious attention or their money or their time. It doesn't happen. And probably as soon as I said that, you said, "Oh, but it did. I remember when it did." Go back and remember when it did. Wasn't there far more in it for the hijackal than there was for you when it did happen? That's the way they roll. And they don't slow their roll. So be aware of that. Now, the fourth thing, again, comes from the 3 must-haves. If a person who has to always be number one, here's the word equality, you can be sure there isn't going to be any. Now, you've heard me talk about that before, so I'm not going to talk about it much. But you are not equal. You will never be equal. You will never have equality. You will never have the same amount. You will never have the same interest. You will never have hijackal who cares, is empathetic, is going about life the way you are. You keep hoping. I know this happens, because I've been doing this work so long. You keep hoping that the hijackal will be more like you, that they will start to see life more like you, that they can count on you, and they will begin to see that you've got their back, and then they will come around, and they will be lovely, and they will care, and they will finally be relaxed and feel they can count on things going their way. They don't have to be afraid. They don't have to stay with that lack of equality. But they're petrified of equality. How could someone possibly be as important, as bright, as deserving as I am, says the hijackal. No. And so equality is not going to be there at all. And if you dig down into the reasons that you are seeking to have these conversations that allow you to please a hijackal, you may be thinking that you are going to end up in a relationship where there is equality. Think deeply about that. You're not. There is no possibility of equality. And I was thinking too about that episode I did a while back on when you have a narcissistic child, an adult child. All of these things really apply. They really apply because a narcissistic adult child thinks that they can now take the reins and run the relationship. And that's what's so hurtful, is that they do take the reins. They do try to run the relationship. And you feel so badly, A, that they do that, B, that how did they get that way? How did that happen? So you don't want to get into relationship with your own hijackal kids where you're hoping that they are going to be reasonable. They're not going to be reasonable. For example, maybe you've been estranged from a hijackal child of yours, and you'd like to open a conversation with them. You know very well that the only way to open a conversation with them is that they are going to get something from the relationship and the conversation. It is not going to be one that you each can be your own best selves, it's all a mess. I'm going to do more in that series on handling your hijackal adult children. This is really tricky, and it goes into worse places. Like if you have hijackal adult children and then they have children, do you get to see the grandchildren? Many times that's all a muddle, a terrible muddle, for the very reasons that I'm doing this episode tonight, is that they now have a commodity to withhold. They'll withhold the grandchildren, and they will have power over you yet again, and that is nasty. Okay, so we talked about 4 reasons why it's wise not to try and please a hijackal. And the last one is that they have to be right. So it kind of comes full circle. I started with the one where they have to change their narrative in order to be sure that they have the right story. But they have a deep need to be right. They cannot make a mistake. They can never be wrong. They never forget. And of course, it's not true. But they make it all up. And then when they make that all up, then they get stuck to it like glue. And they hold on to it. And they make themselves absolutely secure in the story they made up in order to be right. And then they won't let go of it. You know it's wrong. You know you didn't have those conversations. You know you didn't discuss those things. You know you didn't make those decisions. It's crazy making. But they refuse to allow you to have remembered correctly. And so they have to be right. And they will therefore come around and make those new narratives. And they will stick by them. They will convince other people of them. They will get triangulation involved by telling other people what their truth is and tell other people that you're crazy, that you don't remember, that you have a troubled memory. You only remember what's convenient to you. And they can do the same thing, triangulation. I did an episode on it. If you don't understand it completely, listen to the episode. Another episode is on smear campaigns. Hijackals will tell a whole lot of people one big lie about you and make you wrong, go from person to person and tell that lie about you. And then everybody believes the lie. These things actually happen. These are real. And if you're only now learning that, wow, these things really do occur. They really do. I'm glad that you're seeing it, because it's difficult. It's difficult to believe that there are people who are so very off the mark, who are so self-centered, who lie with such impunity and such speed, who can put you down in an instant. All of these things are there when you start to look deeply into hijackals. And of course, that's my trademark term for them, because I don't want us to be engaged in using psychological diagnostic terms for people when we don't have the training to do so. So a hijackal is a person who hijacks a relationship for their own needs and purposes, and then scavenges the relationship for power, for status, and for control. And all people with narcissistic tendencies do that, as do other people with personality disorders. But it doesn't matter what we call it. The fact is, we're living it, we're living with it, and we need to be talking about that. We need to realize I'm living this right now, and I need to be wiser about it. So I hope this has helped to give you 5 reasons why you're smart to stop trying to please a narcissist. You can't unless you do exactly what they want. And when you do exactly what they want in the moment and you talk about it next week, they'll tell you you didn't do what they wanted. You never do. It's that quickly they lie, which is number 1 on this list. So I hope this has helped you. Again, if you want more interaction with me, come on over and join in today.com. Joinintoday.com takes you to my Emerging Empowered membership site. And there's so much there. You get so many gifts, so much there for you to listen to and talk about and join in, and lots of conversations to share the journey. So come over to join in today. And if you're looking for workbooks and things to help you work through, go to relationshipprograms.com. That's a good place to go. Relationshipprograms.com, and find it there. And if you'd like to support this podcast, go to patreon.com/saveyoursanity. Patreon.com/saveyoursanity. Now I know so many of these episodes sound like a real downer because you are so in love. You are so charmed by this person, but you are also being harmed by this person. And it's more important that you have a healthy life than you walk around in the hopes that one day a hijackal will be a person who is fair and honest and equal and mutual and reciprocal, because they just won't. So disabuse yourself of the notion that they will as early as you possibly can. And I'm here to help you with that. And until we speak again, go and listen to some. There's over 700 videos on my video channel. So I think you'll find something that you can learn something from. And then come back here next Monday and we'll talk again. And until then, take very good care of yourself, because you're precious and you matter. Talk soon. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Sorry. Yes, it's nice to see you too. I fell down and I had a muscle spasm that caused me to fall. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those. This is the second one I've had in my life. It was awful. Had to get the wonderful paramedics out to rearrange me. And so I'm sorry that I missed a couple of weeks, but I'm back. Hello, Julie. Nice to see you from Michigan. I hope you're able to get out of your house with the snow. Hi, Sounds. Sounds says, I didn't agree to that. My hijackal did that with 2 adoptions. We never discussed it. We went through home studies. Oh, Sounds says, I wish I could undo the last 30 years. Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? I think you'd have some other people agreeing that they like to, they, they love their children, but they'd certainly like to have the life back without the hijackal running the show. Hi, Marla. Hi, Ellie. Hunted, hi. Expecting a hijackal to be more like you or equal might be us projecting our equalities onto them. You're absolutely right. You know, that's what happens is we believe life can be a good thing, a shared thing, and that we can be equal and reciprocal and mutual. And that's where we really see it. Where we really see it haunted is exactly that. We believe those things, and hijackals don't. And so we expect hijackals to be empathetic or like us. And they live in an empathy-free zone. Thumbs up, yes. And yes, you're right, Ellie. They do believe they're make-believe. And they will make you wrong for not believing it. Their lies and smearing is shocking, disturbing, and grievous. It truly is. It truly is. And when you see it for what it is, you're on the way to healing. And that's so good. So very good. You're welcome, Kathy. I'm glad it's helpful. Thank you, Jennifer. I missed you too. I'm feeling better. It's quite something to just knock out a major muscle in your back and end up on the floor and need 5 really good looking firefighters to come and put me back on the bed in some kind of condition where I could lie there for quite a long time and begin to heal. Crazy. Thank you, Katie. Kathy, that's nice. Happy to see you too, Sounds. It's been really quiet not doing the podcast. You're almost hoarse. Good, Jennifer. Wow, that's terrific. We'll all have a high five for you when that's completed. Anne says, my husband is trying to withdraw from a business partnership from our son. He wants to include his hijackal wife. We know she will just make it a big mess. And if your son has a hijackal wife, is that what you're saying, Anne? That's going to go nowhere good, is it? If that's what you're saying, that but your husband's trying to withdraw from it, which is very wise. The sooner the better, because that's the kind of ugly gift that keeps on giving. I hope that you gets to withdraw. Sarah, hi. I'm a victim of domestic violence. My husband started spending a lot of time with his friends from childhood, whom I've never met or heard of before. Sometime last month, I just woke up and asked to see his phone to check the time. He handed it to me, and it opened into WhatsApp, where I discovered he'd been sending edited photos of himself to lonesome to someone. When he realized he handed me his unlocked phone, he pounced on me, snatched the phone back, smashed it on the floor. But I had already seen it. That was a moment, very difficult moment, Sarah. So I'm sure you have more to say about that. So he has a life going on in his phone that he's not sharing with you. And now the jig's up. You've seen it. It'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. Yes, Marta, they are good looking and they're all in shape. And it was quite, if I hadn't been in such pain, I would have enjoyed it more. Oh, you're welcome, Haunted. Oh, thanks for the super sticker, Marta. That's kind. Anne says, yes, your son's wife is a hijackal. Our son has become very critical and difficult as well. Yes, well, prepare yourself for the fact that the hijackal nature of your son's wife is highly likely to win out if your son doesn't leave her soon. And, really take these things to heart, because it's going to happen. It was, I don't know, about 6-7 weeks ago, I did the topic on 21 things not to say to a narcissistic adult child. I hope you've listened to that. I hope everybody has listened to that and taken really good note of it, because as empathetic, healthier people from the healthier human part of the world, it's hard to hear. People will say to me sometimes, oh, you expect them to be so terrible. No, I don't expect them to be terrible. I know they have no other choices, because I've been watching this for so long, and they don't have any other choices. This is the way they're going to go, and you can't change them, and they don't want to change. So with that combination of events, your removal of your expectation that it's going to get better or different is wise. And when you have a son who marries a hijackal woman, she is usually quite set on ruling the roost, isolating the family, withholding the grandchildren, and alienating the grandparents. So watch for that and get out of it before they can be too punishing. I hate to have to say that, but it really is the softest way to deal with it. So hard. Jennifer says, I have a new boyfriend. Not sure if he's love bombing me, but he always talks about our future, how much he loves me. And it's only been 5 months. He treats me great. I was scared I always pick the same kind of man. Well, slow down. Slow your roll and see if you can see any of the pale red flags starting to march into the relationship, or start to see that there are red flags or there aren't red flags. It's always a problem if we've been with a hijackal. We're afraid we're with another one, and the red flags seem so much redder. But try and be wise. Try and assess what's really going on there. Are they really so difficult? Is this person really just love bombing? You can do some little tests. You can tell a story, solve a problem with this person, see if the story sticks, see if the facts stick, see if they repeat the facts in the same way and give it the same weight when they retell the story. You can do some of those things and check, just say, how do you remember how we figured that out? Listen to what it is that they do, Jennifer, and let them help that way. Oh, sounds, you're so right. It's a sunk cost. These relationships were lost when they began. They were, but, who knew? Who knew? I have people in my practice who have had several hijackals in a row, because until you get you figured out and you sorted out, you can't sort out the red flags. It's so difficult. So it's really a call to help yourself get sorted. That's important. Anne says, thank you. She has already alienated us from the teenage grandchildren. And watch the 21 Things Not to Say. We'll watch again. Well, thank you. So thank you, Linda, for the super sticker. Hi, Roller Girl. Oh, you're so welcome, Linda. I'm glad that the advice is helpful. Okay, well, as usual, I push on here until there hasn't been nothing new in the conversation for 30 seconds. And then I think we must be done. We should got to go off and think about these things or watch the video again. And maybe that's now. You're welcome, Bob. Welcome, Ella. Good evening. And hopefully now there'll be no interruption in the podcast flow. But do think about these things and get yourself, to recognize that you could be giving away a whole lot of your energy, hoping that a hijackal is going to change, and they're dedicated to not changing. And the research excuse me, the research shows they only get worse as they age. You're so welcome, Ella. And Thanks for the hug, Roller Girl. Good night, everybody. Take good care. We'll talk again. Remember, you're precious and you matter.